Hello, my name's Willard, and we're here in Carrizo Plain National Monument. And if you look over here, you can see the large plain, and it's very quiet. Myself and Michael DeGeorge, we've decided to come here to make some electronic music sounds. And the reason the place has been chosen, one, it's a beautiful place, but two, it's very, very quiet. Three, it's a dark night sky area, so we'll be able to see the stars quite nicely. So those are the factual things. That there's more. The environment is just very conducive to creativity, I think so. But more importantly, the sounds that we make are sort of like a representation of how one understands consciousness in the universe. So I have been exploring how to define or how to relate to consciousness as a field force or an element that comprises the entire universe. And I think once you start playing electronic music in relationship to your understanding of consciousness, I think then you can find ways to represent that energy, if you want to call it energy or a field force, that our own minds are in sync, in my opinion, with the rest of the field forces that are in the universe. So I think it's a way, myself, the way I think this is, it's a way to represent the fields of consciousness in the universe with sound. So every sound is like a movement of the energy of consciousness. The consciousness itself is a hard thing to define or describe, but it's with us all the time. And I think if you allow yourself to open up consciousness to be the whole universe, then we have some interesting ways of thinking, because the universe has made, or life as we know it, but it's made inorganic and organic matter, and we are byproducts of that construction in the universe, starting with proteins in outer space. And we have the ability to find everything that we've learned. So I'm actually trying to unlearn a lot of the things that I think I know, and see if I can be more receptive to wind as a result of the environment or sounds of nature, and also the natural environment as a part of the universe. So it's kind of like synchronizing thought and sound, because the sound is sort of a language in itself, and I think thoughts are a language as well. So I believe that the universe produces a language, and the sounds that we make are an attempt to sort of find a language that's kind of like working itself in the universe, talking to itself, or protein talking to themselves, or gravitational fields perhaps talking or affecting certain arrangements of matter. So the electronic music is sort of a xeno-music or a xeno-linguistic music, but it's a sound and a music that represents the full effects of all the forces that are in the universe. So it's a sound that allows your mind, when you listen to it, to travel with the sounds. They don't have a fixed representation, such as a word or a memory. They don't trigger any memories, or you're not listening to it to feel happy or sad about something. They're being made so that the mind can process them, listen to them, and listen to it move or feel it move inside of yourself. And that, to me, is sort of like a representation of how the forces of nature are affecting us internally. So there's a lot of sounds that are going on inside of us internally that we can't even hear. The molecules, the proteins are all making very, very high frequencies. So we make high frequencies too. So we're sort of modulating our life form with the synthesizer and thinking about the whole orchestration of the universe. So you could say it's a universal mind music orchestration. You could say that. I'm not trying to be definitive, but I'm trying to find a way, a means of expressing the idea of how we create a very unique sound that doesn't stop, that represents forces in nature, basically. And the idea is that maybe an idea will percolate inside of the mind. You know, you might have an anomalous mental activity that you hadn't experienced before. Because we're always generating ideas, we're always imagining, we're always inventing, we're always, we're creating all the time. And, you know, there's a big body of work on what is creativity, where does creativity come from. In my mind, it comes from new thoughts arranging themselves inside of, well, that's a good question, inside of the universe or inside of our own minds. If our minds are part of the universe, then we're playing with the universal mind that has a way of building itself to create something. So ontologically speaking, I'm kind of stripping down ontology and allowing us to have a new form of being, what is being in the universe, and to be prepared for working with a new idea. So I think the challenge is to use the sounds to explore new ideas, and in that way the sounds aren't strange, or well, they may be unusual, but they're not so unusual when they're put in the context of helping you or allowing you to wonder. And I think that is a good word, wonder. Imagine is another way of looking at it. Curiosity is another thing, but not definitive. You never want to define exactly what you think you're listening to. Sort of, you're flowing with the sound, so it sort of moves your ideas around until we're finished actually with the sounds, because we play maybe 45 minutes, and that's kind of like a symphonic length, but it's a good length to create a body of work that represents a certain idea at one sitting when the music and the sounds are being composed. So this is the environment that we're going to do this, and in the evening we're going to sort of like attune ourselves with the stars and the land. So there's that attunement. Daytime we attune ourselves with the land and the wind and the sun and the trees and the birds and all the elements that are here. So we get into a real what you call natural attunement, a blending of the field of consciousness with the entire environment. So the rock becomes you, the stars become you, the planet becomes you. You become a byproduct of everything that your senses are experiencing. And out of that, you gain a much, I think, it opens your mind up to attaching to a lot of different kinds of elements that are naturally in our sphere of influence. So that's kind of like a wrap, I think. And I just wanted to make a few comments about why we were out here at Carrizo playing and why we make the sounds. So that's it. Thank you for listening.